right in the kisser.
Hey, how the devil are you? Why are you? Now, it's a Friday. Woohoo! Be a Friday. Drink responsibly. Just a couple, yeah? Wink, wink. Now, I'm being very predictable this Friday. I'm drinking Corona again. Now, there's a couple of reasons. First reason is I flipping love this stuff. And the second reason is that a lot of people keep saying to me, why are you drinking this imported Mexican stuff? You should be drinking something closer to home, you know, in the UK or Wales. Okay, fair enough, fine. But I drank this last Friday and someone in the comments said, and I was saying, oh, I shouldn't be drinking an imported lager, blah, blah, blah. Just joking around, tongue in cheek, you know. And someone in the comments said, I bet you it's brewed in the UK anyway. And I went, oh, I wonder. So I went online and checked where it's brewed. And you wouldn't believe it, okay? It's brewed in my home country of Wales, about 30 miles up the road. In Magor, okay, near Caldicot. Hilarious. So, I think that I'm doing my bit. By drinking this, I'm doing my bit for Welsh jobs. I'm supporting Welsh jobs by drinking Corona. So I think I might go out tomorrow and get another crate. keeping the Welsh in their jobs, yeah? Woohoo! Yeah. Right. Not too much of it yet, maybe after the video's finished. Right, so before I go on with the main content of the video, I'm going to talk about, you know, building a budget system. But it's not often that I come across a new band that I go, oh wow, that makes me, you know, makes my hair stand up on the back of my head, makes me sit up. What's that? And I came across this band called Saults. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's spelled S-A-U-L-T-S. And I came across a short where they did a YouTube short and it just came up on my feed. And I went, oh, that sounds pretty good. And I went to their channel and I looked at some of their stuff. And on that short, I asked them, how do you pronounce the name S-A-U-L-T-S? And they said it, they spelled it S-O-W-L-T-S. So I'm assuming it's Saults. Okay, so I apologize if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Anyway, so they got this new track out called Let It Go. It's not the Frozen track. Let it go, let it go. It ain't that. Okay, thank goodness. And I listened to that track and it starts off kind of like a normal ballad, pop ballad, you know. You're like, oh, okay, this is okay. It's all right, it's pleasant. And about a third of the way through, it starts getting all ethereal for about 30 seconds or so. And all of a sudden, it just blasts out into this rock song. Like, what? And it finishes with the most insane guitar solo I have heard in years. Really impressive. Not since Prince at the end of Purple Rain. End of Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. Speaking of Motley Crue, I'm digressing a little bit here again. Motley Crue has re-released Home Sweet Home and it's got Dolly Parton on it.
Too many romantic dreams.
I'm not 100% sure. The jury's out at the moment on that one. Maybe I'll give it a few more listens because I love that track. But the guitar solo at the end of Home Sweet Home is kind of like that type of, you know, genre. They seem to have taken inspiration from a lot of genres from the past. Now, some of the older tracks are a little bit more poppy, but it seems like the latest tracks coming out over the last 6 months or so, they're a bit more mature, and I think they're growing into their own. If I had to describe the sound, imagine you got Simon Le Bon as the lead singer, Mark King from Level 42 on bass, Daft Punk on keyboard, okay, Dave Grohl on drums, and Mick Mars, okay, from Motley Crue on lead guitar. No, not you, Elton. Get out of it. Flipping Elton. Tries to get in everywhere. But that's kind of the sound you're getting. It's a lot of, you can see where they've drawn inspiration from a lot of older, you know, highly respected bands, which I think is a good thing. So, you know, links will be in the description below to their YouTube channel and the song Let It Go. Give it a listen and let me know what you think of the guitar solo. Anyway, on with the video. So you want to create a decent hi-fi system, but you haven't got a lot of money. Happens to us all. Now I think these days you've got a lot more options than people my age did back in the 80s. You either had to spend a lot of money to get a good system, or you ended up with a pile of crap. I ended up with an Amstrad Hi-Fi. It was a piece of shite, okay? It was blinking awful, and I wish I never bought it. So there was no, like, it wasn't a lot of budget stuff around. It was either pretty crap or very good but expensive. So there's a lot more options now these days. So I just want to go through, you know, if you're looking to buy a budget system, I just want to go through what your options are. And I've picked out what I think is some decent budget amps, budget speakers. And we're going to look at some used items as well. So let's have a look at amps first. So I've got it I'm going to look down because I've got it written down here because I'll flipping forget otherwise. All right, you know, I'm getting on a bit now, chill out. So the 3 amps, I chose 3 amps you could choose from. And I tried to keep them around about the £100 mark. You can get them cheaper if they're on offer. So we're looking at the Fozzy Audio V3. And that's with the 32 volt 5 amp. Now you can sometimes, again if it's on offer on Amazon, you can sometimes get it with the 48 volt 5 amp, which will give you a bit more juice for an extra 10 quid. But you know, keep an eye out for that because it was worthwhile getting the 48 volt 5 amp. But the 32 volt 5 amp will more than suffice. So with the 32 volt, you're getting 50 watts into 8 ohms, 70 watts into 6 ohms, and 100 watts into 4 ohms. Not bad. The next one I picked is a Duke Audio A5. Now I like this little amp. It has PFFB, post filter feedback technology, which is good to see in a Class D amp. And that's with a 32 volt 5 amp. You get a little bit more power in this. You get 65 watts into 8 ohms, 71 watts into 6 ohms, and 78 into 4 ohms. Now the good thing about this amp as well is it has a high pass filter. And for those of you who don't know what a high pass filter is, I'm sure most of you do, but a high pass filter cuts out the low frequencies going to your main speakers. So you can let all the low frequencies go to your subwoofer. And this is good to have because you don't really want to have a mishmash of low frequencies go into your subwoofer and to your whatever speakers you're going to be using, okay? So a high pass filter is a really good option. Now when it comes to setting a high pass filter, there is some discussion around that. Where you should set, so your low pass filter you would set on your crossover on your subwoofer, and your high pass filter you'd set for your speakers. Now a lot of people say set them both to 80 hertz. I disagree with that, okay? So I've mentioned before that a high pass and a low pass filter are not brick walls. They don't just stop dead like this flat. There's a roll off like that, okay? And they say they should meet at -3 dB there. But how do you know that? How can you tell that if you've just got a stereo setup, unless you've got measuring equipment? If you had an AV receiver, potentially you could do it. But with the stuff that I use, you know, you're just guessing. So if you just set into 80 and 80, I don't like that. So what I tend to do is set the high pass filter to 80 hertz, okay? And I set the low pass filter to 60 or 70 hertz to get a little bit of buffer space. And I feel that works better. So I'd advise if you eventually get a subwoofer and you want to get a high pass filter and you've got an amp with a high pass filter, try that out. If you want, set it to 80 and 80, then set the low pass to 70, see how you think, then set it to 60, see what you think. You may settle on 70, okay? It may depend what the crossover slope is, all right? But some are minus 24 dB and some are minus 12 dB. I don't want to muddy the water, but okay. But experiment a bit. There we go. Now, that being said, the third amp, one, two, three. There you go. Okay, the third amp is the IEMA AO7 Max. And that's with a 36 volt 5 amp. Get a bit more juice in this because it's 36 volt, not 32 volt. And that's 94 watts into 8 ohms, 100 watts into 6 ohms, and 107 watts into 4 ohms. Now, the good thing about the AO7 Max is you can use it in mono. So eventually you could get two of these and you get a bit more power then. Well, quite a lot more power actually. So you can set them in mono and have one going to one speaker, one going to another, and one channel and the other channel. You know what I'm saying, okay? So that's well worth looking into. If I had to pick one of the three, they're all good amps. You can't go wrong with any of them. But I do like the Duke Audio HiFi for that high pass filter. I think the high pass filter, I think all amps should have a high pass filter on them, you know, because if you eventually get a subwoofer, you've got it there to hand. Anyway, if you've got no intention of getting, buying another amp, having two IEMAs, or you're never going to get a subwoofer, then probably go for the V3. So we've got the amp, okay? So I'm going to go for the Duke Audio A5. Let me know what you would go for. Got my amp, 100 quid. Okay, we're in 100 quid now. Ooh. Now, source. Now you could go a turntable, then you need a phono stage, and you could go a CD player. My recommendation when you're starting off is probably go for a streamer. Okay, you got unlimited music. Okay, you're paying whatever fee it is a month, a tenner, whatever it is. Okay, to have a music source. But I do think it's worthwhile starting off with a streamer. That's your best bet. And I've got two I've picked. I actually counted right there, look. Okay, the two I've picked is obviously the Wii Mini. Okay, I think the Wii Mini is a cracking little device, has a great operating system, and also the Arylic LP10, which I reviewed recently. Now, you've got to make the choice which one you want. I think the Arylic LP10 is about 100 quid, around about there, maybe a bit cheaper in the UK. I don't know. Wii Mini comes around about 90 quid normally. You can get it in a sale now and again. So with the Wii Mini, you get AirPlay 2, your multi-room stereo. They both work as a preamplifier, and they both have Spotify Connect, and I think, what's the other one? Tidal Connect. But the Arylic does have Google Cast, which I do like to use because I've got Android stuff, okay? So I do like Google Connect. The Wii Mini doesn't have that. The Wii Mini, however, does have a really good personalized EQ settings, and the user interface is really good, considering the price. And the problem with the Arylic LP10 is it's just got preset EQs. They're not bad, they're okay. I thought it was okay on classical, but I would prefer to have an EQ I can adjust myself, and the Arylic LP10 doesn't have that. So that could be a deal breaker for some. However, the Arylic does have USB playback. So you can put a stick in to the back of the Arylic LP10, and you can play your music files from there. So it gives you a little bit more options. So you wouldn't even have to need to stream you could just play from that USB stick. So we've got the streamers. Now, which one would I pick? I'm going to go... Now, obviously, some of you will disagree, but I'm going to go for the Arylic LP10. Simply because I do like Google Cast, and it's got a slightly better DAC in it. Only a little bit, but it's a slightly better DAC in it. And I do like the fact it's got a USB playback. So I'm going to go for that. So we're all in now. We've got a Duke Audio A5, a Arylic LP10, 200 quid. Oh, still a bit, it's not too bad, not too bad. Now you're going to need some speakers. And now I got 3 speakers in mind. Actually got that right, look, 3. I can count past 2, I can. Now the first ones are the Wolfdale Diamond 12s. They're a cracking little speaker. You can get them in black oak, light oak, walnut pearl, and white oak. Light oak and white oak, there you go. 1-inch 25mm soft tone tweeter, 4-inch mid bass, sensitivity 87 dB. They're a cracking little speaker, even though I think they only go down to about 60 hertz. I might be wrong, 65 hertz. They sound a lot more than that. They're very punchy, okay? Then you've got the Dolly Spectre 2s, which I've got here now, and cracking speaker for the price, They come in black ash, walnut and white. Again, 1-inch soft tone tweeter, They got a slightly bigger driver, 5.2-inch driver, 133mm, whereas the Wharfedale Diamond's got a 4-inch, 100mm mid bass. And these have a sensitivity 84 dB. Now, even though they're not as sensitive as the Wharfedale Diamonds, I think they're just as easy to drive. I'm not sure if that 84 dB spec is quite right. I don't know. Maybe they've underestimated it, potentially. But I don't feel these are an 84 dB sensitivity speaker. Not at all. So the Wharfedale Diamond 12s and the Daddy Spectre 2s, they come in at £199. So £199, I think, for either one of them speakers is a steal. These are great. Now, what you'll find is the Wharfedale will tend to be a little bit more laid back, a little bit of a warmer speaker, where the Daddys are a little bit brighter on the top end. So if you like a warmer speaker, you probably want to go for the Wharfedale Diamond 12s. If I was going to pick, I'd probably go for the Daddy Spectre 2s. So we're all in for 400 quid. That's your source, your amp, and your speakers. Job done. However, there is another option for speakers. I did say 3. Now, the Wharfedale Diamond 9.1s. I'm not sure about in other countries, but in Europe, I should say other continents, it's the Wharfedale Diamond 9.1s. So they're still for sale in Europe. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, they're not the same as the ones that used to be out 20 years ago. The ones now where they're assembled in China. Well, most of the stuff is now, isn't it? And to be fair, nothing's changed in them. They're just being assembled over there. All the parts are the same. They're still using the Kevlar driver, the same soft dome tweeter, the same enclosure, okay? The same crossovers. It's all the same speaker pretty much. So I think they're probably still as good as they are from years ago. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. But anyway, they're a really good option if you can get hold of a pair of Wharfedale 9.1s. Cracking speaker, maybe not quite as detailed and revealing as the Daddy Spectre 2s, but here's the kicker. They're only £130. All right, so flipping heck, that's a bargain to be had, that is. For a brand new speaker. So something to consider. But I probably, if I was a little bit skint and I couldn't afford the Daddys, I think the Wharfedale 9.1s are a good choice at £130. I'm going to go for the Spectres. So there you are. You've got a good system for £400. Now you could say, well, I'd rather get an integrated amp. But, you know, a decent integrated amp. Let's look at the Cambridge Audio AXA 35. 35 watts a channel. It's got a phono stage headphone out for RCA inputs, okay? 350 quid. So there's 350 quid already gone. And then you've got to get the speakers. So you're looking at, what's that? 550, so an extra £150. And you've got to get the source. So you're looking at 650 quid. So it starts going up and up and up when you're looking at an integrated amp, doesn't it? Now, the other option is to buy used, and this is a very decent option if you've got space and you want to get a full-size integrated amp. Then buying used is a good option. However, there are some caveats to buying used, and I'm going to give you some tips from what I've learned and my mistakes that I've made. So the first thing is try not to buy anything before year 2000. Okay. Maybe 1995 onwards, but try and stay this side of the year 2000 if you can. The reason being is the older components get, the more things can go wrong. Like the vintage stuff looks all shiny and looks great. And they look beautiful, some of them stuff from the late 70s and early 80s. They look amazing, them amps. But they're a lot of hard work, okay? You know, a lot of things can go wrong with them. And it's like a vintage car, isn't it? Yeah, it looks great, okay, but you're always working on the flipping thing. So that's why if you're starting off and you don't want a lot of trouble, stay this side of the 2000s, I would. Same with the speakers, because I think speaker technology has moved on a lot from the 80s and 90s. And so I went onto eBay to see what I could find, right? And I came across some Monitor Audio Bronze BR1 bookshelf speakers. Very decent bookshelf speaker. And they were going for £104, but the guy was open to offers. So I reckon he'd probably take 90 quid, right? You know, he wouldn't, that's a reasonable offer, I think. So there you are, Monitor Audio Bronze BR1 bookshelves. I think they came out in 2010. Very decent bookshelf speaker. And also what I found was a Rotel RA04. Nice little amp that. Now I had a Rotel RA01. I loved that amp. I've eventually sold it because I couldn't afford to keep it. I had to get other stuff. But that was a cracking amp. Really, really good. It's 40 watts a channel into 8 ohms. So you got enough power there. A lot of people say, oh, it's only 40 watts. Let me tell you something, integrating an amp at 40 watts will power a lot of speakers. And if you're only getting bookshelves, you're absolutely fine, okay? Now, you think about it this, right? So it's got a phono stage, a headphone out, tone controls, 2 sets of speaker binding posts. It's got a pre-out, right? So the pre-out you can use for a subwoofer, or you could use the B. So it's got A and B speaker out. If your subwoofer had speaker level inputs, you could use the B speaker to run that to your subwoofer. So you've got a couple of options there, and that was about $99.99, but you have got to include delivery, so you're looking at 110. All right, so you're looking at 200 quid there, plus your source end, which would be the Wii Mini or whatever. So that's 300 quid. £300, and you might pick up a Wii Mini used or on sale. So there's some options for you there to consider when you're buying a budget system. Let me know what budget system you would put together in the comments below. Be very interested to see what your thoughts are. Anyway, that's come to the end of the video. Happy Friday. Do what you can for Welsh Jobs. And I'll catch you in the next one.